Hello, and welcome to the Drug Discovery World podcast. My name is Giles, and I'm here to take you through another topical and insightful article from Drug Discovery World. Today's episode is taken from a recent article in our winter 2016-17 issue, titled Filling the Drug Discovery Abyss, Novel Business Models to Push Through the Valley of Death. The article was written by Dr Swati Prasad, Dr Charles McOsker, Professor Kathryn Chapman, and Dr Michael Foley. With so many contributors to this article, I'll be talking through their backgrounds at the end of the episode rather than the beginning. So now on to the main article. Filling the Drug Discovery Abyss, Novel Business Models to Push Through the Valley of Death. Over the past 3 years, the US Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and the European Medicines Agency, the EMA, have approved around 200 novel drugs for human use. Not a large number, considering the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, PhRMA, citation that for every 5,000 to 10,000 compounds that enter the pipeline, only one receives approval. Even medicines that reach clinical trials have only a 7 to 15% chance of being approved, in large part because it has been so hard to translate promising preclinical findings to efficacy in patients. One widely publicized figure by the Tufts Center for the Study of Drug Development in Cambridge, Massachusetts, suggests it can cost as much as $2.6 billion to develop and win marketing approval for a single new prescription drug. That is, to develop new molecular entities for which pharmaceutical companies did all of the research. And even the more conservative figures cited by industry suggest a price tag of around $1 billion. Today, the grim reality is that developing even the next first-in-class diabetes drug is really risky, and the risk is even higher for a disease such as Alzheimer's, where the overall success rate for drug candidates has been dismal, at 4%. The high cost of drug development, along with regulatory and scientific challenges, have put so much pressure on biopharmaceutical companies such that they are now focused on external collaborations for innovative ideas through the earliest and often stormiest phases of drug discovery, the 3 to 5 years between target selection and IND approval phase 1 studies. This gulf between finding a promising new agent and demonstrating its safety is sometimes referred to as the Valley of Death, because the waning interest among drug developers to shepherd these discoveries has made it extremely difficult for academic scientists or startups to attract enough capital to prove that their ideas and platforms are commercially viable. Venturing into these badlands poses many challenges for academic investigators who lack experience in drug development and regulatory processes. Elias Zerhouni referred constantly to the abyss. Some accounts even say he coined the term Valley of Death when he was director of the US National Institutes of Health. He explored ways for the agency to help companies and their technologies survive. One of his signature ideas as NIH director was a roadmap for the agency in 2003 to tackle big science issues. 5 years later, and with his days waning at the NIH, he tried to bridge the divide between basic science and clinical research by creating 60 clinical and translational research centers at universities and medical centers across the country. Zerhouni, who is now president of global R&D at Sanofi, remarked 2 years ago in a commentary that costly failures in late-stage clinical trials have stalled the translational pipeline, and that these leaks have produced a biomedical innovation gap, with most newly marketed drugs close relatives of already approved drugs, rather than first-in-class entities. Meanwhile, he says, the medical landscape is characterized more by chronic diseases rather than acute illnesses, and our lack of understanding of these chronic diseases is costing society in both lives and dollars. Deciphering the complexity of human diseases and finding safe, cost-effective solutions that help people live healthier lives requires collaborations across scientific and medical communities through the healthcare ecosystem. Indeed, we must acknowledge that no single institution, company, university, country, or government has a monopoly on innovation. Given these realities, next-generation business models are emerging through collaborative networks to support frontier science and innovation, address the early drug development gap, and help move a good idea through the rocky terrain that separates upstream research on promising genes, proteins, and biological pathways from downstream drug candidates. Universities and hospitals are going beyond the practice of establishing centres for drug discovery, which traditionally has focused on screening through vast collections of chemical compounds to find lead chemical matter, and are now de-risking lead candidates with proof-of-concept studies that confirm that these candidates will successfully alter the course of a disease. Rather than building additional in-house infrastructure, there has been a rise in collaborations among scientists at academic centres, biopharma, and CRO and CMO sectors. Alliances with CRO and CMOs is becoming an integral part of R&D approach as they contribute to building key scientific evidence for drug development programs for clinical success and preserving intellectual property intact. CROs often have infrastructure to handle work that used to be the domain of basic science laboratories within Big Pharma. CROs also have highly skilled workers. Many began their careers in Big Pharma in indispensable areas, and during that time gathered deep clinical exposure. The outsourced discovery services run the gamut from medicinal chemistry, in vitro and in vivo biology, structural biology, and computer-aided drug design that can identify a promising candidate, to process chemistry for scale-up of promising candidates. If successful, the outcome is the identification of a compound that is druggable enough to advance to preclinical development, including preclinical toxicology studies. Another activity that is frequently outsourced by biopharmaceutical companies to CROs. Some CROs have taken a soup-to-nuts approach, creating integrated teams of industry-experienced scientists in all aspects of drug discovery that work synergistically to solve multifactorial scientific issues for its academic and hospital partners. Others are increasingly engaging in creatively structured financial relationships contingent upon advances in the pipeline. New business models are emerging that adopt non-traditional venture-type business arrangements to help manage R&D costs and share the associated risks in execution of scientific programs. These strategic arrangements can integrate with different business models, as we will describe, in a cost-efficient manner and allow access to well-established and validated platforms, technologies, and expertise to accelerate scientific assets and programs forward. The Harrington Project. The Harrington Project for Discovery and Development, emanating from Cleveland, is one initiative that is trying to accelerate breakthrough discoveries from research institutions into therapeutics. The Midwest city that borders Lake Erie is well known for its symphony and, of course, LeBron James, but it also has great hospitals that work on the cutting edge of medicine and a vibrant bioscience innovation community. The Harrington Project, a $300 million international drug development effort to advance discoveries sourced from academic research and non-governmental organizations into new medicines, was launched 4 years ago by University Hospitals Cleveland Medical Center. A generous donation from the Harrington family of Hudson, Ohio, jump-started the project, which consists of 2 components. First, the Harrington Discovery Institute, which provides translational grants of up to $700,000 to physician scientists to advance translational research addressing unmet clinical needs, and also provides access to its Innovation Support Center, which provides the selected physician scientists with access to experienced drug developers to guide the development of their innovative therapies. And second, Biomotive, a for-profit accelerator that is mission-aligned and positioned to continue early-stage development projects through an innovative business model that provides a novel link between academic projects and late-stage commercialization partners. Since its inception just over 4 years ago, Biomotive has raised $145 million in capital from strategic and impact investors, formed partnerships with nonprofits, investors, drug companies, and life sciences companies to develop pioneering discoveries in cancer, ophthalmology, immunology, neurology, inflammation, and cardiometabolic diseases, and helped launch 10 startups in the US and Europe that are developing drugs in these areas. A key part of Biomotive's strategy is to forge partnerships with CROs to provide discovery and preclinical services to help advance discoveries sourced from academic research organisations into novel medicines. Biomotive sounds a lot like a venture capital fund, but is actually quite different. Most venture capitalists invest in a management team and expect results in 5 to 7 years, putting pressure on the companies in the portfolio to earn significant returns through an exit. Biomotive invests in a technology or a specific platform, an interesting compound or novel pathway, and they work closely with investigators to develop a plan of action with go, no-go milestones built into the plan based on technical progress and market conditions towards early commercialization partnerships. Biomotive reinvests a significant portion of profits earned through such events to fund additional projects and expand its mission impact. Optic-Era, a startup formed in 2015 by Biomotive and 2 Harrington scholars at the University of California, San Francisco, UCSF, Scott Oakes, MD, and Feroz Papa, MD, is a good example of how these new business models can work. Oakes and Papa, along with 2 other scientists from UCSF and the University of Washington, were studying a pathway that leads to progressive cell disease in diseases such as diabetes, retinitis pigmentosa, and amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, and had identified prototype compounds that inhibited this pathway. Biomotive formed and funded Optic-Era to develop this technology. The founding scientists continue to work closely with the company to increase the understanding of the underlying science. In addition, Biomotive recruited 2 scientists with more than 20 years of experience in drug discovery and development to provide tactical leadership for the company, and secured several CROs, with Charles River playing a major role, to conduct the preclinical work. Finally, Biomotive provides ongoing business development support to Optic-Era and takes a hands-on role in guiding both the technologies and the company's development. It is still early days for Biomotive, but 2 of its portfolio companies, one focused on cancer and the other on chronic inflammatory diseases, have been advanced into commercialization partnerships with pharmaceutical companies. Milner Therapeutics Institute. The UK-based Milner Therapeutics Institute, launched a couple of years ago with a £5 million donation from Jonathan Milner, the co-founder of the antibody producer Abcam, is an example of how academia and industry are pairing up to accelerate drug development. The institute is fully integrated within the University of Cambridge, directed by Professor Tony Kouzouridis, and consists of 2 parts. First, academic drug discovery research laboratories on the Cambridge Biomedical Campus, and second, an outreach program that involves a consortium of 7 pharmaceutical companies: AstraZeneca, Astex, GlaxoSmithKline, MedImmune, Pfizer, Otsuka, and Shionogi, and 3 academic institutions: Sanger Institute, Babraham Institute, and the University of Cambridge, and 29 affiliated partner companies, Charles River included, that focus on therapeutic development. Milner's 2 overarching principles are to lower the barriers for interaction between academia and industry, and to actively put programs together that lead to drug discovery. Milner uses 2 different business models to try and achieve these goals. The first model allows drug companies to turn to academic scientists for help in the early stages of drug discovery, such as target identification and improving understanding of the target pathway in disease. Here's how it works. Drug companies that belong to the consortium provide materials, compound libraries, or just compounds to scientists at Cambridge academic institutions, and fund the work as well. When the work is completed, the research goes back to the pharmaceutical company for preclinical development. The other model is designed to work kind of in reverse. The Institute's affiliates provide assistance, chemical screening or end-target validation for instance, to academic scientists throughout Cambridge and in the future directly to the Institute's research labs. The goal here is to help the academic scientists de-risk their projects and get them to the point where a pharmaceutical company, venture capitalist, or other research scheme will be willing to license the technology and take it to the next level. Milner is very new. It's building on the Cambridge Biomedical Campus, one of the largest medical research and biotech clusters in Europe, is not completed yet, and the research labs will not be operational until this year, 2018. But the academic institutions that belong to the consortium are already doing early drug discovery work on 5 projects, 2 in oncology, 2 in infectious diseases, and 1 in neuroscience, in collaboration with pharmaceutical companies. Tri-Institutional Therapeutics Discovery Institute. The New York City-based Tri-Institutional Therapeutics Discovery Institute, or TRI-TDI, is leveraging the scientific discoveries from 3 research powerhouses in New York City: Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MSKCC, the Rockefeller University, and Weill Cornell Medicine. The trio are in the heart of the Upper East Side Science Corridor, and while they compete for research dollars, they also collaborate on projects. They launched the independent, non-profit TRI-TDI in 2013 with charitable gifts from 2 benefactors to focus on the early stages of developing compounds that make possible all-important proof-of-concept studies, those that increase the likelihood that targeting a specific biologic pathway can favourably alter the course of disease. They also partnered with Takeda Pharmaceuticals to help develop small chemical molecules emerging from these laboratories. Last year, they built on the work being done at TRI-TDI by establishing a new drug discovery company called Bridge Medicines, in partnership with Takeda and the healthcare investment firms Bay City Capital and Deerfield Management. They now have a seamless and fully funded system to efficiently and rapidly develop innovative therapeutics for treating human diseases. Here's how it works. If a scientist affiliated with MSKCC, Rockefeller, or Weill Cornell identifies a disease target that might lead to a novel drug, they can seek drug discovery support from TRI-TDI. The Discovery Institute provides latest generation medicinal chemistry techniques and technologies through strategic partnerships with academic and industrial partners such as Charles River. TRI-TDI oversees all aspects of the drug discovery process, and by providing industry-level support, toxicology studies being one example, they can rapidly assess whether the compound should advance further downstream. Projects that graduate from TRI-TDI are eligible to enter Bridge Medicines, where they can continue along the drug development pipeline without interruption and be professionally managed in a venture capital setting. The goal is to graduate 12 new projects a year from TRI-TDI to Bridge Medicines. The projects TRI-TDI and Bridge Medicines focus on include cancer, neuropsychiatry, infectious diseases, and rare diseases such as Niemann-Pick C disease, or diseases in developing countries that large pharmaceutical companies have typically stayed away from because they cannot reclaim their investment. Because Bridge Medicines projects are funded as a group, risky but potentially transformational ideas can obtain financial support and shave a decade off the typical process from promising discovery to medical use. Projects are supported through filing of an investigational new drug, IND, application with the US Food and Drug Administration, and Bridge Medicines then works with the participating scientists to establish and fund biopharmaceutical companies responsible for managing individual projects and advancing them to clinical trials, with the intention of basing the new companies in New York City. New strategies, new challenges. While the money spent on early drug discovery work does not come close to the cost of a human efficacy trial, it is still an expensive, high-risk venture. It does not take long to spend down your capital. Finding a steady stream of investors, both public and private, willing to work within these models takes a long time. Finding the right mix of players that can contribute and make the models work is also a challenge. The non-regulated research space of early discovery is also, paradoxically, more challenging to navigate. By necessity, the relationships must be more fluid and flexible, due to the different kinds of technology and models that are employed to collect the data used in making crucial go-no-go decisions, which are frequently somewhat subjective and associated with a level of uncertainty and risk. Getting academic researchers to think like an entrepreneur can also be hard. They may not be so comfortable navigating the hyper-staccato world of product development, when drug discovery begins to move downstream and into the more regulatory-driven requirements of preclinical testing. Safety programs for new investigational drugs must follow rigid objectives and study designs, and be conducted under good laboratory practice, GLP, regulations, to ensure repeatability and reliability of data. And no matter how much you try to de-risk a project, there is still a lot of judgment involved in determining if a project works and is eventually worthy of FDA approval. So it is important, perhaps, to manage the expectations of the scientists involved and to have standards and criteria in place to make those difficult go, no-go decisions that make the asset worthy of further investment. But if executed properly, these novel business models also offer a path forward for research stuck in the trenches and destined to die of neglect. Who knows? Perhaps these models can provide some projects a safe conduct through the valley of death and successful translation to breakthrough new drugs. This article was written by Dr. Swati Prasad, Dr. Charles McOsker, Professor Kathryn Chapman, and Dr. Michael Foley, and featured in our winter 2016-17 issue. Dr. Swati Prasad, MBA, is Senior Manager of Business Development and Scientific Alliances at Charles River Laboratories. Swati manages strategic partnerships with focus on creative business models to increase revenues, penetrate markets, and strengthen drug discovery portfolio. Previously, she was at AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals, where she managed external collaborations and partnerships. Dr. Charles McOsker has more than 30 years of experience in both the pharmaceutical and biotechnology industries. He brings an extensive background in the management of multifunctional teams in drug discovery and development to his role as Vice President, Technical Operations for Biomotive. Previously, he founded Airway Therapeutics, a biotechnology company, and served for 2 years as Director of Business Development for the Drug Discovery Center at the University of Cincinnati. Professor Kathryn Chapman is Executive Manager of Milner Therapeutics Institute. Professor Chapman has carried out scientific research at the University of Manchester, Harvard Medical School, Wellcome Trust Sanger Institute, and GlaxoSmithKline in target identification and disease modelling. Dr. Michael A. Foley is Sanders Director of the Tri-Institutional Therapeutics Discovery Institute. The Institute's first director, Dr. Foley is an accomplished chemist and entrepreneur with more than 25 years of industry and academic experience. He has been scientific co-founder of 4 companies and 1 academic institute, and has placed 12 single-agent or combination drugs into clinical development. He was most recently the director of the chemical biology platform at the Broad Institute of Harvard and MIT, which successfully established more than 150 high-throughput screening development collaborations under his leadership. Dr. Foley previously worked at Bristol Myers Squibb and GlaxoSmithKline and obtained his PhD in chemistry at Harvard. If you've enjoyed this episode and want more from Drug Discovery World, then you can subscribe to the journal and get the latest issues delivered to you via post or electronically, completely free. Just head to ddw-online.com and you can subscribe there, as well as read further articles and view original PDFs. If you enjoyed the podcast and found it useful, then please do subscribe and leave us a review. We'd love to get your feedback. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter for updates and latest articles and news from Drug Discovery World. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you in our next episode.